Hi everyone. So in the second video on Excel, I'm going to show you how to make a graph using information that would be in Excel. Now, if you have that handout that I gave you in class, the guide to charts and graphing using Excel, feel free to use that as a reference while we do this video because the example is coming straight from that handout that I gave you. It's also available on the course site if you weren't in class that day or if you can't seem to find it. Feel free to download it from the class website. Now, the first thing I'm going to do when I'm going to create my graph is I'm going to enter my data, my information. Since we don't have data in Excel already, we have to just put in our own for now. In this example, what I did was I kind of compared, well, I did compare school enrollment over a set amount of years. So I'm going to put my title in A1, so I'll put year in there, and I'm going to just center it like that. And then in cell B1, I'm going to write enrollment because that's what I would like to graph. Again, I'm going to center it like that. As you'll notice, as you can see, the word enrollment is spilling into column C right here, and it's being hidden in column A as well. What you could always do is when you could take your cursor and hover between the line between the two columns. So I'm going to hover on this line between B and C, and now my cursor will have two heads on it. What I could do now is I could click and I could just drag and it'll open up to give me more room for that word. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter in my data. So I'm going to put in my years. I'm going to start with the year 2000 and go all the way down to maybe 2012 or so. Instead of typing in the year manually, because that would just take forever, what I could actually do is I could use a formula to fill in my years. Since I'm going to be tracking for every single year, I'm going to be adding 1 to all of the years. And since I'm adding, the formula that I'm going to use is sum. Now, in the last video, I showed you how to use formulas, so this would be a good way to practice using formulas as well. So I'm going to do equals sum because I'm adding the number 1 to the number that already exists. So I'm going to do A3 because I'd like to add number 1 to A3. If I were to add number 1 to A3, I'd get 2002 plus 1. So I'm adding 1 to the previous cells. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Now I'll close my bracket, and there's 2002. Now, instead of entering the formula manually all the way through, Excel has a quick way to enter in a formula without having to manually type it in. What I could do is I would click where on the cell that has the formula. So A4 has the formula in it. I know that because if I look at the formula bar, there it comes up. I could click on that and highlight all the way down. Let's do down to A4 A14. I'm going to go to the editing section of my home tab up here, and you'll see this little box up here where it says fill. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click on the first option that says fill down. When I click, all of my years will appear all the way to 2013, and I didn't have to manually type them in. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my data for enrollment for every year. These numbers you could just make up. It's not a big deal, as this is just an example. So this is just random number that I'm using here. And now, since I've got my data for my school enrollment for every year, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually graph. Now that I have all my data for the years, what I want to do is I want to graph this. The first thing that you must do with Excel is, especially with years, is get rid of this year up at the top. I know I said to put it in. I only did that so it could help us organize ourselves. But for now, get rid of year because it kind of confuses Excel. When you put year up at the top, Excel thinks that all of this is going to be a series as well. And it doesn't graph the years, it just graphs the numbers. So on your graph, you'd see, well, I guess I could show you. If I had year up here and I went to graph all of this, my graph would come out looking like this, which is not correct. So it will graph both year and enrollment. Instead of having the years listed at the bottom, it'll have just a series of numbers at the bottom, and then it'll have numbers going up at the top. This isn't correct, and it confuses Excel because it thinks that it doesn't understand why there's text there, then there's numbers all the way down. So to graph it, I'd get rid of year altogether. Highlight both columns, insert. Excel gives you a variety of different charts to choose from. So there's column graphs right here. There's 2D, 3D, cylinder, cones, pyramids. There's lines over here, 2D, 3D type of lines. Pie graph if you like, bar graph if you like as well. Areas, scatter plots, and then there's other types of charts as well. I'm going to stick with the basic, just a bar graph. Using columns, I think this would best represent my data. When I click on it, this is what I get. Here is my my graph right here. It will automatically give it a title, enrollment. I can always go back and modify my title. I'll show you how to do that. Down below, you'll notice that my years come up, not just numbers like before. So I've got 2000, 2001, all the way to 2012. I've got a legend right here. It says enrollment, so these blue bars represent enrollment. And then I've got my enrollment up at the top, my scale for that. Now you can always go back and add in year, like so. So our chart and graph is complete. And then for the graph itself, you can always make modifications to it. As you'll note, my axis, my y and x axis are not labeled. So it doesn't say year down here, it doesn't say enrollment over here. I actually want to change my title as well, make it a bit more specific. And you can always change the color of your graph if you like. So the first thing I could do for my axis is click on the graph itself when I get that blue box around it. You'll notice chart tools will come up onto your ribbon. There's design, then there's layout. I will click on layout for my axis title. I'll go to axis title right here. I'm going to do my horizontal axis first, so that's down at the bottom, and I'm going to display it right below. So I'm going to put in year, because that's what these are. These are years. And then on the side, I'm going to go to axis title again, and then do my vertical axis. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to have it laid out horizontally, and this will be student enrollment. Like that, right across. And then up top, I'm going to change my title, and I'm going to do add school, like caps lock, enrollment, like so. And if I want, I could always change the color of my graph. I could do a red if I wanted to, green, orange. Excel has they've got different options here. I could do purple, have it look like that. If I want a background, I could have a dark background, so I could have it look like that if I wanted, or like this. So they let you get fancy with it if you like. But there it is. There's my graph. I'll just have it go back to normal, like so. Let's see if there's anything else I need to cover in this. Nope, that's about it. And that's how you make a graph in Excel. It's fairly simple, fairly straightforward. Yep, and then tomorrow in class we're going to actually practice making our own graphs and also using formulas as well.